I'm in the process currently of writing up a couple new case studies for my website, and I thought case studies would be a good topic to cover. So, the question that we'll begin with is, how do you position as an expert rather than a technician and prove your value? No matter how long you've been freelancing, proving your value, positioning yourself in the right way to attract the high value clients that you're looking for is a big part of your messaging. It's a big part of how you craft your portfolio and how you craft your website. A few episodes ago, I talked about how to sell your expertise before you actually have built expertise. How do you market or position on your reputation before you've actually built a reputation in the marketplace? Well, one of the ways to do that is to use case studies. And the thing is that even if you've never had a client before, if you have done creative work for a specific project with a specific solution, with a specific goal in mind, whether it's for school or it's for a friend or a family member, or it's just a basically self-assigned project, you can create a case study around it. And case studies are not just throwing an image up on your website and say, hey, look, I did this. A case study gives all the background information, your decisions, your research, your conclusions, your insights, how you solve the problem, basically. And as you go through the creative process to create the illustration or shoot the photo or create the design, you document that process, and that documentation becomes part of your case study. In my two-dimensional design class and my three-dimensional design class, I require my students to create process journals. They do a new process journal for every design project. And these basically set them up and give the experience of creating case studies. In those process journals, they come to understand how they think, how they work, how they come to the conclusions that they need to arrive at for a successful solution. They define the problem. They map out, if you will, the process that they're going to follow to solve the problem, and they show evidence of solving the problem and the results of their work. So a case study used professionally is not just any old addition to your portfolio. It's actually a deep dive exploration of how you solved a business problem for a client. So stay with me after the intro and let's flesh this out. Welcome to the Freelance Road Trip podcast. We're located at the intersection of inspired creativity and common business sense, and we talk about everything you didn't learn in design school but should have if you want to build a career and a life as an independent creative. I'm Alvalin Lundgren. I'm founder of Alvalin Creative, my strategic brand design consultancy, and also a Freelance Road Trip, which is an online business school designed to help shift your freelancing into high gear so that you don't stall out. Our website is at freelanceroadtrip.com. And just a little background, if you're new to the podcast, when I graduated from a very prestigious design school, I had my portfolio, but no idea what to do with it. Over the years, I made my way through roadblocks and potholes and detours to grow my creative business into a successful enterprise. And I now teach fellow creatives to do the same. So currently I'm both design practitioner and teach people how to design and how to practice, in other words, build their businesses. The reason I created Freelance Road Trip is to help other creatives navigate smoothly and avoid the problems I ran into. One thing I discovered was that those very problems I faced, are common to freelancers everywhere. And you've probably experienced them as well. But with knowledge and the confidence that comes with that knowledge, you can power through and perhaps even sidestep most problems altogether. Here in the Freelance Road Trip podcast, I share proven strategies and practical answers to transform your creative drive into a thriving independent business so that you can accelerate your creative and material growth. This is episode 128, and you can find the show notes at freelanceroadtrip.com/show128. So we're talking about case studies. And I was saying that a case study isn't just an addition to your portfolio, but instead it's a deep dive explanation of how you solved a problem, how you solved a business problem for a client. And I want to emphasize that we as freelance creatives, whether we're photographers, copywriters, illustrators, designers, we solve not creative problems for clients, but business problems. We use our creativity, our creative energy, our inspiration, our research, our knowledge, and skill to help businesses and organizations succeed in their markets. That's a huge differentiation that you need to understand. You're not a fine artist. If you're serving clients, you are not a fine artist. You're not in this for the purposes of expressing your creativity. It's not about you. It's about them. The things that we do as designers, illustrators, commercial photographers, copywriters, it's for our clients. It's a service for our clients to help them achieve their business objectives. That's a really crucial key idea to understand. That's a mindset shift that, in my experience with coaching and teaching, a lot of people have a bit of trouble making. Not everything in your website gallery, not everything in your portfolio should be a case study. Most of your content is going to be a showcase or a gallery, if you will. A case study is kind of like a point of emphasis within a field of other things. It stands out because it's long form and it's thoughtful. The point of having case studies is that they position you as an expert who is able to deliver effective solutions to business problems. I'll say that again. A case study positions you as an expert who is able to deliver effective solutions to business problems. Through case studies, you promote yourself as a strategic problem solver, not simply a technician or a wrist. You're not an order taker who creates well-designed things. You're a problem solver. You're a thinker. This is an important distinction, and it's a distinction that is going to elevate what you offer and very likely is going to attract higher value clients to you. So what's in a case study? The general contents, the parts of a case study, are usually a project summary and a problem statement, the creative brief itself, description and documentation of the creative process, the solution to the problem, and the impact of the solution. So let's take each one of these one by one. So project summary, problem statement, the brief, the process, the solution, the impact. So the project overview is a general summary. Who is the client? What is their sector or industry? What were the deliverables for the project? What exactly did you do in the project? What did you directly create for the client? Did you participate in naming, in strategy? Were you more focused on execution? What is your role? So that's kind of the project overview in a nutshell. And then the brief is basically describing the problems or struggles that prompted the project. Why does the client need this work done and why now? What is their situation? Rather than leading with something like, the client hired me to design such and such, lead with their problem. What were they experiencing? What was the reason they needed the creative work? Did they have to reposition? Were they launching a new product? Was there a merger? Had they done some focus groups because they had lagging sales and they were trying to figure out what was going on with their brand and if their brand was actually positioned properly? Every time a client comes to you, they have a need. And the need is not for the thing that you're creating. The need is for what that thing will do for them. That's another mindset shift. And perhaps that's a mindset shift that both you and the client need to make. You directly need to understand that the work that you create, it's not about the work, it's about the results. So lead with why the client needed you in the first place. Include a description of their specific goals for the work. Were they wanting to increase their online sales, to increase list opt-ins, to promote event registrations, to acquire new markets, new audiences? and then your process. So in this section, you should describe your research findings, your insights. What did you learn from your investigations? How did you apply it in your creative thinking and problem solving? And this is where you would include photos of preliminary sketches, notes, ideations, wireframes, your development phases, highlight reels, time-lapse videos, things like that. Anything that actually shows your process. It should be apparent that throughout your creative process, you'll need to document and record what you're doing. That's one of the ways that we can use our phones, our cell phones, for our businesses. If you used AI in your process, include that. Developing a case study is where mindset and marketing coexist. They actually come together. You want to cultivate marketing and promotion opportunities throughout your creative process so that you'll need to intentionally pause, hit the record button, grab some screenshots or recordings, or take a few photos. Write down some notes. Go into your voice dictation app and record some comments about what you're doing. Then you can transcribe those later for the case study. Section 4 in your case study is all about the solution. You'll include images of the final designs and deliverables, mock-ups, photos of how they're used. You can include brand guidelines and a reel that showcases the design in use. And then the outcomes, the results, is the last section. How did your creative solutions achieve the client's goals? What was the outcome? Did they experience increased traffic or revenue? Did they sell out the event tickets? Did they grow their email list or achieve their sales goals? You get these results from asking your client. So you glean them from your client's feedback, and it may take some time before there are measurable results. But if you stay in touch with your client, you can ask how things went. That can also possibly lead to new work from the client. You'll also want to include a client testimonial, and to obtain a testimonial, you just need to ask for one. You may also want to provide questions for the client to answer, like prompt questions, and they can tell you verbally and you can write it down. They can send you their recommendations or their testimonials via email. If you're having a conversation with them, kind of a debrief, how things went, and they're so happy with you, they're gushing over you, ask if you can use a quote or two on your website. You may also want to include links to the client's website if your work is displayed on their website in any way. How can illustrators and photographers utilize case studies? Pretty much in the same way, whether you work digitally or traditionally, whether you're a character designer, narrative illustrator, or conceptual illustrator, you can document your process from the research, concept sketch, and development of final art, those phases. You can focus on how you created dynamic compositions, how you selected color palettes, how you utilized your research. Begin with the premise of the idea, share your approach and insights, and then conclude with shots of the work in use, whether it's on a book, a poster, a sequence, a publication. If it's a self-assigned project and you're doing it basically just to attract clients, that's perfectly fine. Just treat it as if it's a client project and follow this same path. Document your process from start to finish, talk about it, describe it, caption it, show your sketches, your color palettes, your research notes, share your approach, share your insights. There's a lot you can do as an illustrator. If you're a photographer, you can also utilize case studies. You begin with the premise of the problem or what the client wanted to accomplish. Include any mood boards, lookbooks, preliminary shots, behind-the-scenes stuff. Describe your approach and process. Conclude with the final photos, and if relevant, how they were used. Were they used on social media? Were they e-commerce shots used on the client's website? Include credits to any photo assistants, production assistants, models, stylists, rental spaces, everybody who contributed to the success of the shoot. And again, if it's a self-assigned project, that's okay. Including a few case studies in your portfolio can level up your authority and position you as an expert who creates effective solutions that solve clients' business problems. A lot of freelancers don't think in those terms, my friends. If you do, you will rise above the crowd. But there are other benefits to case studies as well. You can repurpose a case study into promotional pieces, into social media posts, email campaigns, e-publications, lookbooks, and more. Simply take the content, slice and dice it, use it in different formats on different platforms. So I'm going to give you an assignment, and that is to create a case study. Whether it's a self-assigned project or something you've done for a client, make a case study out of it and put it up on your website. Make a PDF out of it that's downloadable for prospective clients. Let me know how it goes. Connect at freelanceroadtrip.com. Well, thanks for listening. This has been the Freelance Road Trip Podcast, the intersection of inspired creativity and common business sense to help you accelerate your freelance business. It's where you get the street smarts to launch, manage, and grow your creative business so you can live the life you want. The show notes, once again, are at freelanceroadtrip.com/show128. You can get my newsletter by going to freelanceroadtrip.com/newsletter and adding your name and email. I send out industry updates and professional tips twice a month. Follow me on Twitter at Freelance Trip and on Instagram at Freelance Road Trip and also at Alvalin Creative. May you prosper in all things and be in health as your soul prospers. And I'll see you on the road.